it was a great movie, but it seemed like there was resistance to that movie.
Mel Gibson was on the Joe Rogan podcast talking about the sequel to The Passion of the Christ.
What if the most talked about, controversial film of our time held secrets nobody was supposed to uncover? When Mel Gibson sat down with Joe Rogan, things got real fast. At first, it was your usual chat, in movies, faith, Hollywood politics. But then Gibson started spilling what really went down behind the scenes of The Passion of the Christ, and suddenly, the room went quiet. Rogan, yes, the guy who's grilled presidents, fighters, and whistleblowers, was shaken. This wasn't hype. This wasn't clicks. Gibson was tearing back a curtain Hollywood fought tooth and nail to keep closed. And when you see what he revealed, you'll never watch this film the same way again. Let's rewind. The Passion of the Christ wasn't meant to be another biblical epic. Gibson didn't want sweeping shots or safe storytelling. He wanted raw. He wanted visceral. Something that grabs you by the throat and doesn't let go until you understand the full weight of sacrifice. Music Gibson told Rogan the idea was clear. This wasn't just history. We're all responsible. Christ's sacrifice isn't a story frozen in the past. It hits every single person in the present. He poured years into studying the Gospels, ancient texts, theological sources, digging deeper than most filmmakers would dare. He wove together events, spiritual warfare, human suffering, and divine purpose, frame by frame. The opening scene sets the tone. Garden of Gethsemane. Darkness presses down. Jesus kneels, his closest companions asleep. Vulnerability at its peak. Fully divine, fully human, sweat turning to blood, crushing weight on his shoulders. Then Satan slithers in, whispering doubts. A serpent emerges, but Jesus crushes it underfoot. Direct nod to Genesis, the first promise of redemption. Every shadow, every word, every line is loaded with meaning. Gibson wasn't making casual cinema, he was demanding attention, forcing audiences to reckon with something much bigger than themselves. Hollywood? Not thrilled. Gibson noticed a pattern, silent but brutal. Films about other religions got respect, nuance, care, Christian stories. Skepticism, dismissal, hostility.
Christianity is the one religion that you're allowed to disparage.
Yeah.
Christianity is the one religion where people, they'll embrace all these different religions until it comes to Christianity.
Projects were tagged old-fashioned, too serious, out of touch. Studios ignored him. Calls went unanswered. Meetings cancelled. Even colleagues kept their distance. The message, this story isn't welcome, and neither was Gibson. But he didn't back down. Fueled by faith, not ego, he self-financed. He assembled a crew of believers unafraid of controversy. The result? The Passion of the Christ exploded, becoming one of the highest-grossing R-rated films ever. Millions were hungry for the kind of bold storytelling Hollywood swore nobody wanted. The filming, nothing ordinary. Gibson revealed to Rogan things crews still can't explain. Jim Caviezel, playing Jesus, endured real physical pain. The 30LB cross dislocated his shoulder. Whippings left his hands raw, breath knocked out of him. His agony wasn't acting. It's in every frame. Then came the lightning. Assistant director John Michelini struck twice. Gibson reportedly struck during the crucifixion scene, yet walked away unscathed.
Passion, well, I was struck by lightning on the last shot of the movie. But prior to that, it was shoulder dislocation.
Lightning in the Bible equals divine power. The crew couldn't explain it. Natural? Supernatural? Lines blurred. Even cast transformations happened. Luca Lionello, Judas, came an atheist, walked out a believer. Maya Morgenstern, playing Mary, secretly pregnant during filming, symbolizing life, death, and renewal. Reports of unexplained healings circulated. A young girl with severe epilepsy seizure-free for a month after visiting the set. Some experienced restored senses, coincidence or divine. The crew believed they were part of something bigger than a movie. One scene nails Gibson's vision. After the crucifixion, Jesus rests in Mary's arms, echoing Michelangelo's Pieta. Grief and grace, devastation and dignity, human sorrow and divine purpose collide. Critics divided, audiences transformed. Roger Ebert gave 4 stars, calling it the most intense, violent film he'd ever seen. Others praised the sincerity and ambition. Controversy hit from all sides. Religious leaders worried about historical stereotypes fueling anti-Semitism. Gibson argued his intent was universal responsibility, not blame, but debates raged. He added artistic flourishes, like Judas tormented by demonic children, to explore guilt, redemption, and spiritual warfare visually, not literally. The film forced engagement, no neutral ground. Public curiosity skyrocketed. Church groups, media, sermons, discussions exploded. Gibson created something no one could ignore, and he's not done. In his Rogan interview, Gibson revealed a 6-7-year project with Randall Wallace. Spanning from the fall of angels to the death of the last apostle, it's audacious, ambitious, and unlike anything seen before. A simple sequel? Music not even close. This is uncharted territory, something mainstream cinema has barely touched. Gibson wants to show how one moment in history, the resurrection, ripples through everything before and after. He's diving deep. Ancient texts, theological debates, historical research, all to craft a story that makes audiences see familiar events in a totally new light. For Gibson, the Gospels aren't myths, they're history, backed by apostles who died rather than deny what they witnessed. As he told Rogan, who dies for something they know is a lie? That question alone, he argues, validates the supernatural claims at the heart of Christianity, the resurrection, the ultimate challenge of faith. Someone executed, buried, and then walking out of a tomb. It breaks the natural order. Gibson admits he once accepted these claims because others believed, but over time he needed his own understanding. That personal journey now shapes everything he creates. He's not preaching to the choir. He's pushing skeptics and believers alike to wrestle with the big questions, existence, meaning, and what happens when life ends. What everyone missed. Music so what shook Joe Rogan? What cracked the composure of a man used to interviewing presidents and fighters? It wasn't one moment. It was the weight of it all. The truth that making the Passion of the Christ meant standing virtually alone against an industry determined to bury this story. The truth that unexplainable, supernatural events happened on set. The truth that art made with conviction can transform lives far beyond any commercial blockbuster. The truth that faith sometimes demands suffering, and honesty can cost everything. Some stories, Gibson shows, justify any sacrifice to tell them. These truths cut through cynicism, reminding Rogan and his millions of listeners that sincerity still exists, that people still create for reasons beyond money. That conviction can still move mountains. Gibson's journey, increasingly rare, a refusal to compromise, a refusal to play it safe, a refusal to let Hollywood gatekeepers decide which stories get told and which die quietly. The Passion of the Christ forces viewers to confront raw realities. Suffering, sacrifice, redemption. No sugarcoating, no comfort. Just the hard questions about human nature, divine purpose, and the cost of salvation, questions most entertainment won't touch. More than 2 decades later, the film is still divisive. Some call it a spiritual masterpiece. Others see serious flaws. Both are true. Great art provokes because it hits something deep we can't just ignore. The Gibson-Rogan conversation peeled back the layers most celebrity interviews never reach. It revealed the human story behind controversy. Struggle, sacrifice, unshakable vision. It reminded us reality has mysteries no materialist framework can fully explain. And it showed that authentic vulnerability, even from the toughest, most controversial figures, can move hearts and open minds. That's what everyone missed about The Passion of the Christ. It wasn't just a movie. It was a man risking everything to tell a story the world tried to silence, and winning the hidden truth. It's out now for anyone ready to see, listen, and let a story actually change them. Stories that cost real sacrifice. Stories that change everything.